Police officers of Reddit, what are you thinking when you see cases like George Floyd? Horrified. When you have someone in custody, you are responsible for their safety and well-being. I have a degree in law enforcement and work in corrections in Minnesota. My thoughts are fuck that guy. Nobody is taught to put their knee on a guy's neck and leave it there until he passes out and dies. He may as well have had his hands around the man's neck. If I were to go off the video evidence, the officer should be arrested for murder. Since we're tapping into the police community here, can someone please explain what, if anything, the bystanders could have done to help George Floyd? Call 911 and report police brutality. In all seriousness, what is the preventative action here, since none of the police officers on the scene, 4 of which were physically restraining him, reacted to his being murdered right in front of them? Edit. Thank you u/murderbimodem for this link. A clue. https://www.aclue.org/issues/criminal law reform/reforming police/a clue @ record police conduct. I'm adding it to my post because I think others will appreciate it and I don't want it to get lost. Edit. In summary, some of the options proposed are below. I apologize if I omitted, misrepresented, or oversimplified anything. The bystanders in this case did many of these things and they were a voice for George when he couldn't speak for himself. 1. Always record the incident, live streaming if possible, and inform the police they are being recorded. Involve other authorities when applicable, such as police supervisors, state police. 911. Ask for supervisor and an ambulance to report immediately. A clue. FB. Tell the officers on site that you are involving other authorities. De-escalation. Back any crowd or bystanders away from the scene and officers, while still being able to record the incident. Have one person, preferably a white person, attempt to approach the officer S as a medical professional or voice of reason to explain that it appears that medical treatment may be required, and remind the officer S that their best interests, career, family, reputation, etc., are to act responsibly. Create a diversion/distraction that requires the officers to release the hold, not custody, of anyone in imminent medical danger. Physically remove the threat imposed by the officer S by force. This includes exercising your right to carry and discharge a gun. I think everyone agrees that this option will most likely result in physical, potentially fatal, and legal ramifications for the individual S involved unless the group of bystanders are organized enough and outnumber the officers on the scene to the extent that they can safely take control without further harm. 6. Systemic change. Vote, local and national, for people that value human life and will implement change to protect it. This is not an anti-gun sentiment. If you value your right to carry a gun, then vote for people that support that. Be vocal in demanding justice when these incidents occur. Push for improved training, hiring practices, and accountability within the police force. I would imagine that this may also include increasing pay for the police force to attract more suitable individuals into the positions. Possibly implement a citizen-based governing body to oversee the police force and their actions. A post I can finally answer. Based in Scotland, I'm a police officer with 5 years service, 2 of which I have been a part-time officer safety instructor. During this training we go over retraining subjects and handcuff techniques that we use to a T. This includes all safety aspects, including where to apply handcuffs, how tight they should be, ensuring the technique is done correctly and that the subject is in a controlled but safe position. Positional asphyxia is a vital topic we cover, and it is reiterated time and time again that if a subject ends up on the ground, we never, and I reiterate again, never, place any sort of weight on them. Hell, even when sitting in the back of our cars, we watch them and ensure they can breathe and are in a comfortable position for transport. What these cops did was just plain stupid, disproportionate, and frankly an embarrassment to policing. It also used disgusting, if I'm honest. I just hope that people know we are not like this. Not a local, I'm a Fed. 5 years into the job. George Floyd was murdered and it's fucking disgusting. We're trained that anything involving the neck is a no-go and is considered deadly force. We were also trained that if you make an arrest in a prone position, you search and then immediately move them onto their side or a seated position because the risk of asphyxiation is so great. If a suspect says they can't breathe, believe them and take measures to correct to it. This training is reinforced at least twice a year in our use of force training. These officers deserve to spend the rest of their lives in prison. I'm a former police officer, and so have had plenty of training in physical restraint of individuals being arrested. There is no police academy training officers to kneel on someone's neck to subdue them. That's how you kill a person. There is extensive training on how to avoid seriously injuring a person while restraining them. And I guarantee you every one of these officers was trained to never strike a person in the neck or choke them. The officer who killed him is very clearly liable for manslaughter at the very least, and I think the other officers who stood by have some accountability as well because they knew damn well that was not how you handle a person, and should have stepped up. Deleted. It put a serious tag if I were you. Caught here. Disgusted. There are 1,000 reasons why this shouldn't have happened. Simple, easy, steps that should have been taken. Lessons that policing has learned over the past 200 years and basic things taught in every academy. Make no mistake, this was murder. Maybe not premeditated murder, but nonetheless murder. I will be angry if those officers do not get indicted. Retired after 28 years. Nothing less than murder. All the guys I worked with would never have considered doing something like that. You treat combative in custodies once feel secure as human beings. Nothing should be personal. Once they've been subdued and you are safe as an officer, you stand him up, pat him down and understand that your honesty is at a low point in his life. Give him some dignity and you'll generally get his respect. It works 90+% of the time. That man was subdued and nobody should have been on him at that point. I was a cop in the military. In the police academy this was one of the things that taught us not to do as it could crush the windpipe. The only time I was ever taught to use chokes and neck holds was in combat training for deployments. But when we got back we always had to attend retraining classes to relearn what we can do stateside. Retired. It disgusts me as the job is difficult enough as it is. Working mostly in sensitive neighborhoods. Brutality like this makes it far more difficult. Deleted. Disgusted, especially by the frequency of these events. Glad that I work in a place where we're trained for years before we ever put on a uniform that communication is our greatest tool. Sad to know that this is going to happen again and again. I used to be a police officer. It was fucking embarrassing going out the day after something like this happened. One of the reasons I quit was because I had no pride in my job anymore. For the people doubting if I used to be a cop or not, this is the only proof I really have. In order to get the police officer flair and /r/protectance of you need to send the mobs a pic of your police issued id. Haven't been to that sub since before I quit, but here it is https://imga.com/r/duck2knob. I'm a police officer in California. I am absolutely disgusted by the officers' actions. When someone is in our custody you must treat them properly. I don't care if they are arrested for murder or forgery. They are a human with a story and they deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. I had tears streaming down my face watching the video of George Floyd. We swore to protect our communities and that's what we set out to do every day. Putting a knee into the neck of a handcuffed man for an extended period of time isn't protecting. A man has lost his life due to the gross negligence of an evil person. May he rest in peace. Sheriff's deputy here, and I must say that I am disgusted by the unnecessary loss of life. There are moments that make me regret what I do, and this is one of them. I've met my share of racists wearing a badge and am ready for a career change. The oath we take is to uphold the law and constitution. So for the officers on scene there that could have stepped in and prevented this, Fuck you. One bad apple always ruins the bunch. Unfortunately, I pray for the George's family and that justice is served. Throw away for obvious reasons, and yes, I'm a white male. Edit. Wasn't expecting this to blow up as it has. I'm responding to you guys when I can, and I'm glad we can have a conversation about this. We do not unionize in my state for law enforcement, and I see many comments about systemic protection and abuse. I have never worked under a police union, but I have worked with people who were unionized, and I have heard my share of stories where law is protected by the union. Stories I hear are about union protection from bad leadership, but I can imagine those protections may extend further in cases such as this. I work for a U.S. federal bureau, but I'm not a local police officer. All 4 cops need to go to jail. Derek Chauvin, the cop with the knee on George's neck, shall have gone to jail long ago. The guy apparently has a history of doing this. This is his 3rd time in 15 years. Black people need to keep fighting, and white/Asian/Latino people need to support them. Justice for cases like this won't come easy, and it won't come soon. But if they keep fighting, I truly believe that one day, eventually, it will come. Subscribe, like, and comment if you hate outros. Begging you to subscribe, like, and comment.